The first 2 months of fall had come and gone. The leaves were on the ground, and the Northwoods masterpiece of October colors was now only a memory. Deer movement started out strong in September, but slowed down as we moved deeper into the season. However, by studying trail camera pictures and signs in the field, I began to sense a change in the deer. Bucks were leaving the safety of the dense forest and revealing themselves in our food plots. Does were coming in less and less, and they appeared more and more nervous with each sighting. The time of year that all deer hunters dream about had finally arrived. It was November, and it was time to hunt the rut.
Well, folks, it is a dreary November night, a little blustery, and we are back up in the stand in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. And let me tell you something, the rut is kicking in. We've had pictures over the past week of 3 nice shooter bucks. They've been fighting, they've been chasing does, they've been ripping up trees. The rut is starting to kick in here, and we are hoping that one of those bucks is going to come in. We've seen all of them during daylight hours on our trail cameras. So, if there was a time where I'm going to get my buck down, it is right now. It is this weekend. So stick with us, folks. I'm going to have the camera rolling, and hopefully I'm going to get a shot on a nice buck and catch it all on film. Stay with me, everybody.
Just after 7 o'clock, I noticed movement across the trail in a small first-year food plot that we planted with the others in the spring. We didn't know what to expect from this food plot, but the turnips we planted definitely got the deer's attention in the summer months. After the deer had picked at the remaining turnip tops, it made its way onto the trail leading to my stand. As it came into view, I could tell it was a buck. While some people might be disappointed to see a buck like this, I was more than excited. Ever since I had been hunting, all 1.5-year-old bucks that I've seen have been either spikes or very small forkhorn bucks. Seeing a 1.5-year-old buck with signs of positive antler development let me know that our deer management practices of the past few years are starting to pay off. There is a lot of room for improvement, but this is a step in the right direction. Watching this young buck told me that he didn't want anything to do with the sprinkled corn and had only one thing on his mind: finding a doe. He kept his head down, eyes open, and wandered off into the woods. The morning started out with a bang when I saw the first buck of the season, but that was the last deer I'd see until later that day. That afternoon, the weather put a damper on my hunt once again. With close to 30-mile-per-hour winds, I felt like I was going to be blown right out of the tree. Luckily, the wind didn't deter a few deer from showing up that evening, and as soon as they came into view, I had the camera rolling. The first was a small doe, and right away I could tell by her skittish behavior that it was the same deer that I had seen back in October. She nibbled at the kernels of corn for quite a while, but with every gust of wind she became a bit more nervous. Eventually she decided that she had gotten her fill and disappeared into the woods. Just before dark, a second doe appeared out of nowhere, but this deer was not alone. To my surprise, she was accompanied by a buck, and not just any buck, but the buck that I had seen earlier that morning. In the back of my mind, I was wishing that a shooter buck would have been following that doe. But instead, I took this young 4-point buck as a sign. He worked hard that entire day to find a doe, and in the end, he was successful. If I continue to work hard to manage our land for whitetails, in the end, I know I'll be successful too. I waited until the 2 deer left the area, then got down from my stand with a plan to take a more active approach the next morning.
Boy, what a tough morning. It's windy again, but I'm gonna give a few grunts and see if we can't get some to respond or come into it.
I was hoping the grunt calls and the golden estrus wicks that I put out would bring in one of the bucks we saw on trail camera, but unfortunately, they didn't.
Well, folks, I wish I could have got a little more footage for you this weekend, but it was just rough with the wind. Everything seemed to be right. The week before, we had pictures of a lot of different bucks coming into these stands during shooting hours, but I think the cards just didn't fall the way we wanted them to in the weather. The high winds kind of threw us off and threw those bucks off, and they were just sitting low. So hopefully I will be up again in a week to give it another go, and we'll see what happens. But it was nice to see some deer this weekend. Saw the first buck that I've seen this season. A nice promising buck. Hopefully in a few years he'll be another shooter that we'll be trying to go after. But it's always great to see those deer moving around. So stay tuned, everybody. Thanks again for watching another hunt brought to you by Northern Wisconsin Outdoor Adventures. Stay tuned for more.
Hunting requires a lot of patience, and if you've ever waited as long as I have to shoot a deer, you understand that. While this bow season has not produced as I thought it would, I am far from giving up. In a few weeks, these woods will be filled with hunters unleashing a whole new arsenal of weapons. Gear up for gun season, everyone, because she's right around the corner.